Right then, I'm joined by Frank Warren. Of course, we had the York Hall show the other night. Frank, how are you and how did you find York Hall?
I'm fine, Rob, and I hope you are too, mate. How did I find it? Yeah, it was quite novel, to say the least. Not what you normally expect walking in there. It's normally spit and sawdust, and it looks all pretty high-tech, all the lighting and rigs and God knows what else was there. But it was, look, in the new world we're in at the moment, it absolutely done the job, fulfilled what we set out to do.
I think, obviously, it was, in a sense, it was just a studio as well. It was still just a room with loads of cameras and lights in it. But the fact that it had the name York Hall behind it made it seem a little bit more boxing-y than it was when it was in the studios.
Well, it was, for me, sitting there, sitting in isolation, watching it there, but looking up on the balcony, a few of you guys were all sprinkled around the balcony. At least it felt a little bit better than being in a studio. And let's hope soon we can get some bums on seats to get back to some, where we get that crowd, the feeling of the crowd. But I think under the circumstances, we're all doing well.
Frank, to be honest, the isolation for you didn't look too bad. I saw you had a massive bag of fruit pastels that you were shoulder deep in.
You know what? I never do stuff like that. One of the girls got it, working, one of your guys, I think, bought this big bag. I ate the whole lot. I was so ill after. I can't process that at my age anymore. I mean, I've done the whole bag, being the greedy bastard that I am. But anyway, that's it.
How did you find Frampton? Obviously, it was a bit of a late change of opponent for him, and obviously it's not a high class opponent, but it was something he needed to do to get to that world title fight against Herring. How did you think he looked?
I think there's a couple of things. First, it was a new opponent. Number two, he was going up in weight. And actually, he did quite well, didn't he, trainer, for a few rounds? I mean, he was there. He was throwing his shots. He caught Carl a few times. I thought once Carl settled down and, he started letting those shots go, certainly those body shots, and I was screaming out, body, body, body. And he done the job and set himself up for now the fight with Herring, which hopefully will take place sometime late October, November. That's a big, big fight. That is a history-making fight for Carl if he comes through.
It's pretty much all but done as well, isn't it, the Herring fight? I know they need to find a location for it still, but everything, the hard part is basically done, isn't it?
Oh, everything's agreed. That's all been dealt with Top Rank, and that's all up and done. His management company, MTK, everybody's on the same page, so. It's just working out the date. That's all. Herring, by the way, has got a fight in a couple of weeks' time. His fight got postponed, but hopefully he'll come for it. I'm sure he will. Then it's a big fight for the both of them.
It was funny because Herring was online watching the Frampton fight, and he was supporting Carl and going absolutely mad when Carl won. I wonder if Carl's going to be the same for him in his fight.
Oh, you can guarantee that, no doubt about that one. There'll be best of enemies.
And obviously we got Dennis McCann out as well. It was quite funny being up on the balcony. We were checking all the social feeds and things like that, filming all the extra stuff. And so many of the tweets and things we saw and so many of the messages we saw all night were about Dennis McCann. And obviously with him being the live float for the night, it was a bit of a sweat getting him on, but he managed to get there. How relieved are you when he got out?
Do you know what? Look, that just shows you. Everybody, when you think about boxing, you all think you know what's going to happen. We all thought there were going to be some not short fights there, and it wasn't the case, was it? They all three of them went into the 10th round, so it just didn't happen. It was a shame because I'd love to have got one earlier. Having said that, that was a tremendous performance. He beat a guy I think he's only ever been stopped once, but it's the way you win, and at the age he's at. And I'm telling you now, providing I keep making this proviso that he absolutely stays focused and trains hard and lives the life which he's been doing, and he seems very, very, very genuine in what his ambitions are and his commitment to the sport. He's going to be a megastar, not a superstar. He's going to be a megastar. That kid can fight. He can fight. And you talk about fighters and who they remind you. I say, do you remind you of Naz? It's not. He reminds me of Naz as a fighter. He's got the power and so forth, but it's the confidence level. It's the real confidence level. And I think the difference between him, I hope will be the difference, and Naz, done everything that was asked to him till the end. I think the difference between them is going to be that, you know, Dennis does have a tremendous commitment to the sport. You can do it when you're young, and then suddenly you might get fed up with it and think, oh, God, back in the gym again, why am I doing this? But he wants to be there, and he's a young man. So I feel he's going to be around for a long time. And I can't tell you how excited I am in promoting him. I really, really rate him. Out of all our guys, like, he's in the top 2.
He seems to be getting bigger as well. We've had all his fights on BT, and I remember his first one. I think his first one was at Stevenage, wasn't it? On the Billy Joe card.
Billy Joe, yeah.
And he looked quite small. He still beat up whoever it was he was facing. But now he's starting to look quite big. What weight do you think he'll end up at?
Physically, I don't know. I think he'll go up again, but he's comfortable at the weight. You know, Alan Smith, his trainer, he's pretty pleased. You know, he's obviously very pleased the way his commitment and the way he's training and so forth. But he's so. I noticed it. It's funny the night when you're not seeing anybody for ages, if you know what I mean. And I was looking at him. I thought, Jesus, what's happened? His bones grown. It's like the frame on him. He's quite solid, and he looks the part. And and remember, he's only I don't mean it's being disrespectful. He's married now, but he's not in a man's body yet. He's got that. He's still to become a man yet, and he's strong now. So he's going to be awesome when he's ready. You know, when he gets to his peak, he's going to be something special.
It was a bit of a night of body shots, wasn't it? Frampton obviously winning with them, McCann won with one. Then the Conlon fight was full of them as well. Did you enjoy the Conlon fight? I think Takut put up a bit more of a fight than maybe people were expecting.
I knew he'd put up a fight though. Josh Warrington's, when he beat him, remember, Josh is a world-class fighter. You know, I thought he was the best featherweight out there, and he's ferocious. And when you look at that, when I look at that fight, I thought, Jamie's got tremendous, Mick's got tremendous amateur pedigree. He's only had, what's that, it was his 13th fight? I'm not sure. I think it was his 13th fight. That guy's got he's had double the amount of pro fights than he's had. And I knew he would be there with him. And he done a job. He threw some tremendous punches. He was hurting him underneath. Obviously, it didn't help. A couple of them went south of the border, and he had the points taken away. But, he did what he had to do. And at the end, he pulled out the big punch and done the job. And I'll tell you what, he done a job on the Frenchman, in as much that afterwards he wasn't too good. They had to whiz him off to hospital for observation.
It wasn't just Takut that put up more of a fight than maybe we were expecting. Archie Sharp and Jeff Ofori, we all thought it was going to be, to be fair, I think we thought it was going to be a bit more high volume punching than it was. And Archie actually came out of that feeling quite disappointed. He got the win, but have you spoken to him since?
No, I haven't. I spoke to him on the night afterwards, but I think I said to you before, Rob, when you're fighting in this environment, this sort of, which is a sterile environment, if you know what I mean, there's no fans there. So you're not bringing in his case, bringing his army of fans with him, Archie. They're not there. So there's no home fighter, no away fighter. And I think all the opponents, all the shows, not just our shows, other promoter shows, the opponents are stepping up even more. And I think the fights are becoming, very more competitive than as we thought they would be. Having said that, Archie, I know he can do better than that, and he's got to do better than that if he wants to fight at world-class level. He's got to, he must do much, much better than that. But he won against an opponent who didn't come to sit on the floor, who come to fight him, and it was close. It was close fight lasted, but at the end of the day, he got the W, and now he's got to learn from that and move on to the next one.
And Troy Williamson as well. His fight was close, and his fight was physical. I mean, the first couple of rounds, it looked like it was going to spill over into something else. Harry Scarf brought a very, very difficult fight. Did you speak to Troy afterwards?
I didn't get a chance to speak to him, and I will do though. But again, it was a close fight. And Scarf, you got to take your hat off to him. Hats off to the opponents. Both those opponents for the two guys come to fight. They didn't come to roll over. And they were close fights, and Troy, I was expecting a bit better from Troy as well, but it was what it was. At the end of the day, he got through it and won. But, I think sometimes it's good to get fights like that because, it's not all going to be, we ever just show up. I'm not saying they think it's just show up on the night. They know they've got a fight in their hand, but they've got to be top of their game. This is where they are now. This is not we're not learning now. We're now into the stage where you want to get onto the next level. So you've got to go out and make statements. So I'm quite confident after their two respective performances that they will do that next time out. Yeah,
I heard Harry's trainer Clifton. I heard him even from the balcony. I heard him shouting to Troy, "You got lucky! You got lucky!"
These guys done well. I'll see an interview that he did, Clifton, which I wasn't very happy with about Warren's fighters and all that. But, judges call it how they call it, and he didn't even know whether I was even going to be there or not on the night. So it's a load of nonsense. But they were close fights. They were very, very close fights, and his guy done extremely well. So Clifton, stop being a whinge bag.
Moving on to the next show. When is it? It's just over a week. We've got Daniel Dubois on August the 29th. And I think there's been a bit of doubt over Eric Pfeiffer, hasn't there, the last couple of days?
Well, look, because of this virus situation, we've got to make sure when we get the fighters in, the medicals are in place, because we won't be, especially at that level, it's very difficult to get opponents. Well, first of all, Pfeiffer, we've been waiting and waiting for his medicals. He sent in his COVID test last Friday. We got his other medical on Monday, today, and it was missing the MRI scan. And without an MRI scan, he can't fight. And now the time's against us because of the COVID situation, guys being in the country, so far having the medicals, it's killed us. And it's not like he wasn't unaware of it. I mean, he's knows what he's got to bring in. He knows all these things. The guy who fought from the same camp who fought against Joe Joyce, his was spot on. Medical, he's provided an MRI. This guy's not. He's provided an MRA, whatever that is. That's not what we use here. So it's a problem. So we can't hang around. We can't take the chance. And we now brought in Schneider, and he's 18-1. He's a Dutch guy. He's got a very good record, and he's a winning fighter. So I think for Daniel, it's still a good fight for him. It's going to test him a bit, and we're delivering as always.
I think people were slowly beginning to realise that's actually a much harder fight than maybe Pfeiffer's profile would suggest. He's not particularly well known, but actually an incredibly difficult fight for Dubois, and it's far from like a risk-free warm-up.
He's got a wealth of experience, and that's why we picked him. That's why we did what we did. But we are where we are, so we've got to deal with reality, and that's the reality as we are at the moment. I mean, it's in the best possible way. At least nobody's bought tickets on the strength of it.
Who else do we think there's going to be? Because I think you've mentioned earlier that there's going to be 2 in September and 1 in October. 2
in October, 2 in September.
Okay, and so we got Yard, Williams. Is Josh Taylor floating about? Because obviously he was meant to have a fight before the lockdown came in.
He's supposed to. We'll see where we go with that.
And Liam Williams, obviously we spoke last week about Chris Eubank.
And Liam will be out. Sorry, and Liam will be out.
Yeah. And
we'll get Liam out, yeah.
He's been exchanging a few words with Eubank Jr. and that actually has caught a bit of interest from the public, that fight. Has there been any sort of update on that? Have you spoke to Liam about it at all, or Eubank's team?
Spoke to Liam and spoke to Eubank's team about it, and Eubank's team not there. Not they didn't want to know.
Not at all.
No. We talked about we told them what because obviously we can't get a live gate at the moment for that fight, but we told them what we could do and so forth. Excuse me, but they they said they'll wait till the live gates come back, which is a great shame. But Liam would be out anyway.
Yeah,
Liam, he'll fight anyone.
Yeah, I was looking at people.
We made an offer also to the Matchroom kid Cash yesterday.
Oh, really? So yeah. Have you put in some more offers on the Queensbury and Matchroom possible fights?
We put that fight in because obviously we can't meet yet, so that doesn't stop us trying to make fights in the meantime. So we've, said, made quite a decent offer for Cash to fight Liam and see if they're up for it.
Any others?
I'm not going to go into that yet, but we made offer for a few fights. But I don't want to get into, I'm trying to get this over the line, trying to get this meeting on, and I want the meeting on, and I want to get us together to try and make these fights happen because they're important. They're getting Matchroom v Queensbury or Queensbury v Matchroom, whatever it's going to be. We want to get these fights on for the fans. That's what our vision is, and that's our mission, to try and make this happen.
And speaking of, obviously, Whyte, Dillian Whyte has his fight against Povetkin this weekend. There's been a lot of mentioning Tyson Fury in the build-up. That is because of his position in the WBC. That's the route that I think he's trying to take himself. Obviously, when we mentioned the Queensbury versus Matchroom thing initially, it was Dubois against Whyte was a fight that you wanted to happen. Everyone wants AJ v Fury to happen. Has there been any more update from the WBC on what Fury will have to do and what will be delayed? And basically, there's loads of roadblocks towards getting to AJ and Fury, isn't it?
No, there's been nothing. But, it's a funny thing. I was seeing some of the comments that were being made from the other side saying that, all AJ's interested in doing is fighting for the WBC belt. Well, that's the case. Let's just get it done. But they're talking about, it's got to be. So if Tyson, for example, was to go up or vacate the title, they're saying that from what I understand, they'll fight Whyte instead. And that tells you all you need to know, because you know what my theory is on this. And I've said it all along. They do not want that fight under any circumstances. And I did one of these the other day with Sky, with that Adam Smith at Sky. And he was banging on about, poor old Dillian and all this. I said, just stop for a second. Let's talk about your subscribers. What fight do they want to see? What fight does the general public want to see? Why don't you put it up? And you can do the same at BT. Put it up. Who do you want to see Tyson Fury fight? Dillian Whyte or AJ? Who do you want to see? Anthony Joshua against Dillian Whyte or Anthony Joshua against Tyson Fury? Who do you want to see? And he said to me, well, 96%. No, he said 98% of the people who want to see Fury and Joshua. He said probably his mates, Dillian's couple of mates. So I said to him, well, then under those circumstances, listen to your subscribers. And you're saying, and that's what everyone wants. Let's park all this up, because it's not even about belts now. It'd be great to have the 4 belts on the line. It'd be brilliant for 2 Brits to fight for the 4 belts. But if there's all these complications, let them just have the fight. Because no one's buying a ticket to watch a belt. They're buying a ticket to see the 2 Brits fight each other. They want to buy a ticket to see Tyson Fury against Anthony Joshua. That's what they're buying a ticket for. That's the fight they want to see. It's the fight I want to see. I'm told it's the fight that AJ wants. I know it's the fight that Tyson Fury wants. So let's just get the thing on. We got no problems with the money. We all know what it's going to be. Cut it down the middle. There's no problems with that. So let's just focus on putting these obstacles out of the way and delivering the fight that the whole of Britain wants to see, if not the whole of the world wants to see. The best fighting the best, the 2 best heavyweights. Let's park all this other stuff up. And, if Dillian comes through on Saturday and he does well, and I hope he does come through, whilst he's waiting, he could be a massive big favourite of all the experience he's got in fighting Daniel Dubois. Let's get that on. And then the winner can fight the winner of the other 2 guys. And while we're waiting for that to happen, Derek Chisora, he can get in and fight our man. He'd love it, Joe. So we've got a nice mix of proper fights. And the great ingredient is it's Queensbury against Matchroom as well. So, we've got our little bits of ego, Eddie Hearn and myself. So we can have a little bit of fun with it, but we'll be delivering. We will be doing boxing a service, not a disservice. And that is what we should be focusing on, delivering for the fans. They are what matters. They are the people who pay for these events. They're the ones who put their hands in their pockets. So let's give them what they want and not let anything get in the way. And if anything is in the way, then let's just park up the belts and just fight each other to get it on.
How difficult is it? I mean, you've been promoting for Frank, God knows how long. How long have you been promoting?
I did my first show in 1970. Was it 77?
77. So how times you found yourself negotiating around the belts and different organizations and things like that? Because I think this Fury AJ fight, there's the potential of the Pulev fight on the IBF. Then is it
we did it with, we did it with Nassim Hamid. You know, he was going to fight Vasquez, Gomez, all those guys. Cut them, vacated. We just paid them. Vacate the belt and just fight. The fans knew what they were. It's the best fight and the best. And it was unfortunate the organisations got in the way, and all the nonsense got in the way. So they vacated their belts, and we made them happen. And they were really good fights. That was Naz at his best. That's when Naz was really flying, and they were really highly anticipated fights. But nothing in my time in boxing is as much anticipated as Tyson against AJ. Nothing in my time in boxing. Nothing is like this. This is another level, and that is what we got to make happen. No bullshit. Get all the crap out of the way. Let's do what we're supposed to do. Make things happen, not find ways not to make it happen.
And with all the other fights you've suggested there as well, it really makes a massive statement for British boxing, doesn't it? To be able to have the heavyweight division, essentially all the eyes in the world looking at British boxers. Well,
you think about it. You know, we've mentioned 5 names already, 5 British names. They're all world ranked. 6 British names, and they're all world ranked. Well, it's never happened before. This is like buses. They've all come along together. I mean, this is fabulous. It's a great time for British boxing in the heavyweight division, but it's a great time for British boxing as far as some of the fighters that we're all involved with, some of this exciting talent that's coming through, some guys who are on the verge of fighting for world titles. It's just a shame we're in this terrible scenario, this lockdown situation, as far as the fans are concerned. But we're flying. I mean, Great Britain is the business at the moment. We are absolutely running the show in the heavyweight division. And as I say, all these other fighters out there, there's some more world champions coming through. We've got some youngsters, which I think are some of the best young talent in the world.
Yeah, of course, with Dubois and Adelaide, and I know Joe Joyce isn't as young, but he's relatively inexperienced. Do you think?
But he's young. But he's, you know, for the amount of fights that he's had, exactly. That's what he's got no experience, has he? You know, it is what it is. But he's not ducked anybody. He'd step up against anyone. We know it. I mean, we're blessed with all this talent. We can make these fights happen. Look, we tried to make our fight happen in April, didn't we? You know, Daniel against Joe. We had that on. That was gone. That was nigh on sold out. I think we only had about 800 tickets left. Was it 3-4 weeks before all this stuff happened? So we were trying to deliver to the fans. That's what we tried to do. That's what we're trying to do. But now, with all what's going on, and we hope we've got some dialogue going now, we can make some of these fights for the fans. Let's make them happen, and then big money fights as well.
And they all are potentially in the future as well, because I think AJ's only 30 or 31. Tyson's just turned 32. There's still time for the young ones to get the fights in with the older ones potentially.
Of course. I mean, that's what it's about, isn't it? That's what it's about. And then it's not like they got lots of miles on the clock, the pair of them either. They got a lot of. I know Tyson has. I mean, he's like a. I don't know what's happened with him. I think he's like the old motor trader years ago. They're clocking him. He's going backwards in age. I mean, he's flying. But we're in a good position with those guys. We want to get those fights on those youngsters out there. Get some decent fights with them. Get them fighting each other like we're trying to do, and just keep getting the best out of it. And this is, as I keep repeating myself, this is a moment in time to really do boxing a service. To deliver. That's what it's all about, is delivering, to deliver to the fans, give them those fights. And it's not the end of the world for losers.
And just one final thing on the Fury Wilder fight. In fact, I saw a couple of things today about Frampton and Herring. There's a possibility that they could go co-main on that event, which would be, brilliant for them, really. That's so many eyes on one thing, and it makes it a pretty unbelievable card as well. Do you think there's a possibility of that happening?
I don't know. I mean, it would be huge if it does, but we'll see. I mean, that remains to be. And the main thing is Tyson wants to get this fight out of the way with Wilder. I mean, he's contractually committed to do it, and he wants to do it and get it done. And we got to move heaven and earth to make it happen.
Did you send him a birthday card this week?
I phoned him and wished him a happy birthday, and he was yeah, it's all good. I spoke to him this morning. He was in good shape this morning as well. He's happy camper. He was on his way to the gym when I spoke to him. Sorry, he called me this morning, 8:30 this morning. On my way to the gym, he was telling me. So he's all good.
I take it you were on the way to the gym as well, Frank.
I'd come out. I was out, just coming out, as he called.
Yeah, well, after a quick 15 rounds on the bags.
Well, listen, there's no more 15 rounds now. That's years ago. You don't do 15 anymore. I'll just about get to the 12.
You got to do the extra 3 for all those fruit pastels the other night, though.
God, Jesus Christ! I'll never get rid of them. My God, never again. They're not. I know. See, I'll keep saying, not like the old days when they were bigger and they were a bit softer. Now they're like they take me dentures out. They were terrible.
All right, Frank. Lovely to talk to you as always. Thank you very much for your time.